a little bit of background. I began in this industry a long time ago as a sea kayaking guide, and it was in an economically depressed part of Canada at the time, Newfoundland. That job as a guide saw me really well placed to see the rapid growth in a developing destination. What that meant is that I routinely witnessed the overcrowding of humpback and minke whales who just wanted to spend their summer getting fat. So this job as a guide, it motivated me to understand tourism, to understand it as a tool for conservation, as a business, as a way to make a living, and as an industry. So back to school I went. I earned a master's in tourism environment and management, all the time sort of feeling the ever-present need to justify myself. I don't know if any of you can relate to this. You know, I'd have questions. So tourism, okay, I don't get it. You want to be a travel agent? Well, no, tourism, one of the world's largest economic sectors. You know, something that I think many of us would echo. Thank you. Well, the WTTC gives us a lot of numbers, and I'm one of those people that reads all those numbers. They tell us that 1 in every 10 jobs globally is related to travel and tourism. They tell us that in 2016, global tourism generated $7.6 trillion globally. They tell us that that same year, 2016, the growth of travel and tourism outpaced that of the global economy by 2.5 points, and that includes financial sectors, financial services, forgive me, manufacturing, and shipping. Using long accepted measures of success for our industry, arrivals, increased competition, expansion into new markets, the picture looks rosy. We are growing, and we are most definitely being taken seriously. In 2013, Forbes noted that travel and tourism was an industry soon to become an economic powerhouse. I think when Forbes says it, they mean it. But who's there to hand out the red card when things don't go quite right? My name is Shannon Guillen. Thank you for allowing me to speak with you here today. I'm a director at Banneken Travel and Tourism, and what we are is a consulting firm that serves the entire tourism destination, tourism development lifecycle. So what that means is we provide services in 4 key areas: destination development, travel trade relations, marketing, and PR. So really it depends on where a business, a hotel, or a destination is along that tourism development lifecycle. I've been asked to join you today to discuss a topic that you've seen in the headlines and that Aleha just teed up for us: OverTourism. My aim today is to speak to you as peers and professionals, and most importantly, to avoid any questions of altruism, and to address perhaps the most impactful business challenge I think our industry has seen to date, and that is our own success. So what are the basics? We're an export industry. We sell an intangible product. In order to sell that product, we need to bring the consumer, the traveler, to the product or services so that they might consume it. You know this, it is basic, but how often do we really consider where our well-planned and carefully executed product takes place? That being the destination. So what's the destination? It's a place. And what might unchecked growth mean for a place? So this is Skogafoss. My guess is there's a handful here, if not more, that have been to Iceland in the past couple of years. It's that place. I first visited in 2006, and I am confident that at that time I experienced exactly what the destination marketers wanted me to: vast open space, stunning vistas, an impactful sense of beauty, silence, and diversity of what this tiny little country was selling to me. I was alone right there. I've been back nearly every other year since. I'm set to be there in July. I'm nervous because the experience has greatly changed. Destinations, what makes them special, unique, compelling, what provides their sense of place. That's what we sell. In the simplest of terms, it is our product, and I fear that quality control is suffering. So as I said, demand drives the growth of our business. Arrivals, targets, these are all elements that we're deeply aware of. They impact our clients. They impact whether or not I will have clients. They are a key part of the tourism organism, and we're doing a really good job. But perhaps that's the problem. Are we doing too good a job? So here's we get to Barcelona. Last year they saw, in 2016 I should say, they saw 20 times more residents than, residents than visitors. Visitors than residents. 20 times. It's compelling when you think of it put that way. And they were met with welcome signs. In 2017, Iceland saw 7 times more visitors. Well, I forgot the headlines. Compelling, right? Iceland last year saw 7 times more visitors than residents. And for a country the size of Iceland, if you've been, and what they're selling to you is isolation, that's a problem. Major milestone in 2013, we saw the 1 billionth traveler globally. That number is set to double by 2013. So how then? How then have we just seen this impressive growth in our business in the last, say, most notably decade, certainly 2 decades? Well, a number of factors have come to play here. Travel's cheaper. We know this. The rapid expansion in low-cost carriers this past decade alone has been impressive by some standards, and they've moved beyond the short-haul model, which traditionally saw them able to save money by avoiding overnight stays and hangarage fees, et cetera, et cetera. They've been growing. Blue Seas expanded, river cruising companies have expanded tenfold in the past just short couple of years alone, where you now have to go over boat after boat after boat after boat to get to the shore. And land-based packages continue to get cheaper. The search for the authentic is no longer authentic. Off the beaten path has become the new norm. These elements have come together to mean that the tourism hub, the traditional tourism hub, is beginning to dwindle because we are deliberately moving people beyond those hubs. That's not a problem necessarily, but what it does mean is that communities are finding tourists in their backyard where they weren't there normally. I definitely think Airbnb plays a huge factor in this as well. The growth of the middle class. We can travel more, we can travel more often. More of us can travel more. Visa tells us that China and India alone, between the years of 2015 and 2025, are expected to add 900 million new members to the global middle class. Okay, so these are elements we are aware of, we should be aware of. So what's happened? This hasn't happened overnight. We haven't just all of a sudden found ourselves at 1 billion. So then why is it we are just seeing destinations cry out over tourism now? What's happening? I blame the marketers. They're really good at their jobs. Social media, ease of booking, greater information, all of these things come together to mean that the world is truly more accessible to us. But complicit in this game are the regulators. What's unfortunate is I don't feel the regulators have been as sophisticated as the marketers in their ability to deal with 2 key points, and that's capacity and yield, or more importantly, net benefit. So where does this impressive success and considerable shortcoming combination leave us? Well, in a bit of a tight spot. While we've yet to coin an official definition, over-tourism has become a commonplace term amongst professionals and the traveling public. Most often defined by its impacts, what is often lacking in the discussion on over-tourism is what it means for you, for hoteliers, tourism, or tour destinations and tour operators, eventually it means a decline. And why is that exactly? Well, over-tourism occurs when too many people are trying to consume a finite resource, in this case, a place, what you'll hear me repeatedly refer to. And too many of us at one place put stress on local infrastructure. We displace residents, we damage natural and built heritage resources, and we change the fabric of a community and, in fact, of its commerce. So, product developers, destination marketers, planners, regulators, I would ask you to pay attention to this. A poor experience for many destinations repeatedly shared on social media is difficult to recover from. What then do we want to avoid? We wanted Barcelona to avoid this, and we want to avoid it. It's the loss of what defines your destination, your sense of place. For the locals, this loss of a sense of place is felt quite keenly. And for those of us making a living in this industry, the risk is an eventual decline in tourism arrivals. If still I haven't made a business case for us recognizing over-tourism as an industry and in our own day-to-day, then I don't think I've done quite my job yet. So I'd like to reiterate, this is not altruism. I noted earlier that most other industries have a view to quality control. Protecting the resource base which forms our product is simply smart. It should be considered, in my opinion, a cost of doing business. Consider this, the very real risk that the real role that social media plays in all of our lives. The threat of a decline as a result of those repeated poor reviews is something we need to pay close attention to because everybody else is. Skift, The Independent, Photos, National Geographic, The Independent, really hot on this topic, Condé Nast, Chicago Tribune, The Star, The Australian. You get it. The impressive number of articles covering the topic of over-tourism this past 18 months has moved beyond travel trade and consumer travel media. It's in newspapers. This is a likeness we should all aim to avoid. And I believe we can do just that. I don't think it's all doom and gloom. There are destinations who have recognized the long game, and that's something that we talk about in our work at Banneken all the time, the long game. And they've prepared themselves using a number of tactics. Tourism caps, long been used in sensitive areas, BC's West Coast Trail, Machu Picchu, Cinque Terre, Santorini, Galapagos, they've all used tourism caps, varying degrees of success. Some see this as an aggressive tactic, and I understand that. But like anything, when done right and collaboratively, I think it can be very impactful. And I also do think we're going to be seeing more of it coming down the line. Dynamic pricing, smart zoning, the real-time use of visitation data and social media to spread travelers across to other less popular or sensitive sites like Elijah was just speaking about. These approaches require a lot more resources, a lot more finesse, but they're very impactful. So then, what's this all about? What's the solution? Is there one? Or is the elephant just too big? I don't think so, and here's where we start. We know what too much volume can do. It serves no one if it generates insufficient or no profit for host destination. And I fear that if a lot of destinations look closely at their figures, they'll find that they are delicately close to that precipice. Targets need to be, at minimum, a two-sided approach, or I do really like the idea of including the citizen in that. Arrivals and visitor spend, an approach that focuses on arrivals only. I understand what governments, or where it comes from. I understand where the pressure comes from, but it's folly. If you ignore total overall visitor spend, you're only getting half of the picture. As I said, we heard earlier from Copenhagen. These, I think, are strategies that are set to change the way we do things on a go-forward basis, and that's what excites me in my job. The concept of the temporary local alone It says so much to the visitor. It denotes a sense of respect and responsibility that I think the average tourist, the dreaded word, does not show. Smart management needs to consider the true capacity of a destination's assets, visitor flow and spread, and look beyond just simple hotel bed nights. Smart management will look to impact visitor behavior and the overall experience and interaction with the local community. We've seen the backlash against tourists in Venice, Barcelona, and Amsterdam, and others, but let's consider who allows cruise arrivals to balloon in number and who allows foreign ownership to grossly overlap that of locals. It's the regulators. Somebody had to say, yes, you can moor your ship there. Yes, you can open up that hotel. Now, this is not me being altruistic. I understand and support the fact that infrastructure and investment is a necessary part of the tourism organism. What I don't support is that it often happens in a silo. Tourism products and assets that not only involve but also serve the local community can expect greater longevity, a truly genuine offer, and go a long way towards protecting the visitor and the resident experience. Now, there's a number of opportunistic measures that fit this bill, and honestly, I support most of them. Demand management. When demand spikes, so too should rates. User pays models. Simple and oftentimes low user fees will encourage a more thoughtful and respectful traveler. There are other options. Allow destinations to use the additional revenue. Might be some eye rolls here. To invest back into the destination. Smart use of these tactics can support the spread of visitors over geographical areas and seasons. Again, as a Canadian, the issue of seasonality is one felt keenly there. Some adventure destinations have used these tactics for years, Machu Picchu, and others, Iceland. I've been having the conversation with a user pays model with every Icelander I've worked with for the past 12 years, I'm sure. As far as many are concerned, travel has become a right. Now, though I'm not here to debate that. Not long ago, it was a luxury, something that we worked towards, and maybe we took a trip every year or two. Now we all not only take, but demand our holidays yearly, and in many cases, multiple trips a year. Okay, so more of us again. More luxury offers for travelers who are prepared to spend more is one solution to slow the floodgates to a trickle. Now this must be, I would call it a state industry joint approach to be really successful. Again, another mouthful. Adventure and other niche segments are well placed to do precisely this. And this is the good news. Those of you operating in the adventure space hold a very enviable position. You've all seen the mass tour operators using the words that you might not want them to: authentic, small groups, adventure. Sometimes it's tough to marry that with the vision of a coach with 40 packs on it. You truly do operate there. Do what comes naturally. You are well placed to focus on high-yield niche markets. And I want that to sink home. It might seem that that's sort of everybody's ideal. It's much more of a reality for the adventure market than many other markets in there, and I don't think it should be overlooked. It's an excellent opportunity. The research tells us that adventure travelers will pay a premium for what they feel to be exciting, authentic, whatever their definition of risk is, and, as you heard Nori mention this morning, transformative. So what I ask the adventure space to do is to continue to seek the unsought, to continue to avoid the queues, and to invest in your community. In doing so, you directly invest into your product. most importantly, appreciate that you don't need them all and that you need just the right ones. Thank you.